Hello, everyone. My name is Iman. Welcome to the Iman Show. It is another episode 90, I guess, and probably the most unwanted episode I've ever wanted to have, to talk about war. Like, who wants to talk about war? But apparently, we do not learn anything. The biggest lesson we learn from history is that human being doesn't learn from history. Past 2 years, we were dealing with COVID, and all around the world, people were dying of this smallest, tiniest creature of all. And apparently it was not enough death, not enough suffering. After 2 years, another reason to die, this time with the biggest country in the world. It's not about the size, apparently. Well, I'm so sorry that today we are going to talk about war. Not specifically, of course, my heart is with people in anywhere around the world that they're suffering from war. But today it's all about Ukraine. With this winter, the temperature and all this stuff that's happening there, I don't know. But in general, today we're going to talk about your experiences. If you have ever been in a war zone, you want to share, because many of my friends have no clear image of war. It is not what you see on screen. War is not tanks and missiles and sirens, and no. War is pain and pain and pain. Well, if you want to join me and you want to share your experience of wars, as you know, many countries have been or still going through wars and conflicts every day. And so I'm here to listen, to share your stories about war, and hopefully we can at least raise awareness. I was thinking about what can we do. We can talk, we can bring awareness, we can ask, we can demand, and at least we can pray. We can send our love and prayers. There must be a way that all these people around the world, that they are now connected more than ever, and they think alike, and they have same priorities, values. Now people who don't believe in war are stronger than any time. So let's focus on peace by talking about war. All right, so okay, so I am going to invite of a couple of friends today. Before you join, I want to ask you, please, because wars are, let's say, delicate topics to talk about, because there's always two sides. If you want to talk about a war, there is no winner or loser. There are two sides that I believe they are both losers. The biggest losers of war in wars are mothers, in my opinion. But if you're going to talk about your war, your experience, please be respectful, mindful that now you're talking to everyone all around the world, and there are some matters to be mindful about. Okay, so I already see that there are so many friends who want to share their opinions. I see Ellen is here, Annie, in fact. So she's I think now in Russia. Maybe that is a good way to start the topic. Hello. Hi. Hey, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. And how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much. How's it
It's so
going?
hard time, so hard time, and it's so painful to
Hmm.
talk about war. I had experience with war because we were under attack also when I was in Armenia.
Hmm.
2020. I remember that day. It was 2020, 27th of September, and I had that day an interview. And I remember how I woke up and I saw on my phone screen that war started, that Armenia is under attack. And I remember my feelings, and I was thinking, how will I talk on interview? Because I'm going to talk about something so funny and
Hmm.
to make people laugh. Because we didn't know that war will start. And of course, it was so much. I was shocked. And all the road, I was thinking, how will I talk about it? Because this interview will be like shown after many months,
Hmm.
and I was thinking, what about should I talk? And I remembered that it was so hard for me to share my emotions that day, to express my feelings, and I was thinking only about peace for soldiers, for mothers, both of sides. Because as you say, that there is no losers, there is no winners. It's just a war, and it's something about politics, and we have nothing to do with this.
Hmm.
Um, and I remember that I lost, and many artists, of course, they lost their desire to continue their profession. And I remember how doctors were helping from another countries, and they were coming to Armenia to help our soldiers. It was hard time for me because it was that period when I was in my homeland, because usually I'm in Russia.
Hmm.
I live there, as you remember, and I'm coming here only for business stuff and to rest in my homeland. And it was the time when I was in my homeland. I wasn't far, and I remember that my heart was exploding literally, because I thought, how can I help? I don't know what to do. I was shocked. I was panicking a lot because um, my how can I say, siblings also were going to a war.
Hmm.
Um, and I remember how I was trying to help with, I was preparing and buying a lot of candies, a lot of pills, and making some big boxes and writing on every sneakers that I was sending to soldiers. I was writing something good for soldier, and on none of them I wrote my name. I just wrote on one sneakers my name, and that person texted me after 2 months on Instagram.
Mhm.
I texted on just one of the sneakers. I texted, I wish you come back so soon and be so healthy. And when you come back, please come to my concert. And I texted Ani Ohanyan.
Mhm.
And he found me on Instagram after 2 months and he sent me my this letter from Sneakers.
Mhm.
And I was so much happy that time that he stayed alive. And I don't know,
Oof.
it's so hard to talk about it.
Yeah. What is going on now in Russia? Are you now in Russia?
No, I'm in Armenia
You're in
right now,
Armenia. Mhm.
but it's so much. It's I feel danger. When I was coming to Armenia, I felt so much panic inside. I don't know from where I had these feelings before coming, and I was saying to my parents before that I don't want to come to Armenia because I feel that some war will start.
Mhm.
I was saying this, and they were thinking that I'm crazy. They were thinking that I'm crazy, but this is some feeling that I don't know, something bothered me inside. I hope that people will live in peace because this is the worst thing that can happen. Literally, I never thought that pandemic can be. It's not easy, okay? Virus, it's not easy. Pandemic, but I'd rather to have 10 years of pandemic than 10 seconds of war.
Mhm.
I hate war. I don't know.
Mhm.
Tell me something.
All right. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for your share. I hope that we all learn something from this one. I don't know how many other wars we should go through to learn that this is not the way. But yeah, thank you so much. Let's see if there's any more shares. So thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye. Yeah, after 2 years of pandemic and everyone, everyone was so excited and ask me and ask others and ask like everyone, when are we going back to normal? Here we go. This is normal. This is the word that we knew 2 years ago. A lot of wars, a lot of killing, a lot of shooting all around the world, and welcome back to normal. Some countries attack the other, not just the whole country. It's like a handful of arrogant people who think that they have the control and they know what they're doing, and how much longer you're going to live. I don't know. And it is absolutely crazy. Yeah, so hello.
Hello,
Hi.
how are you?
Thank you so much. How are you?
I'm Neeraj from India.
Hi, Iraj. How are you?
I'm fine, I'm fine. I'm watching your program, your live from, I think, a month.
Hmm.
And Means very inspirational videos and very inspirational life.
Thank you.
But yesterday also I want to speak, but my throat is not good. Today also my throat is not good. I have a bad throat.
Mhm.
But the topic is such I won't able to control. It revived the feelings of my childhood.
Mhm. Have you been in a war?
My father
Mhm.
and memories are very dull. Means the word war is with so negativity. Look, means every day your life is very bubbly, very live. But today, as we are discussing for war, means it's not good. Only life suffers of human beings. I remember uh, my father fought 1971 war, and there at that time we used to stay indoor. We used to put newspapers and curtains, heavy curtains on the windows and the doors, on the doors, so that the light won't get outside in the night. And we use only candles. No, we are not allowed to open the lights. It's everywhere in the world like that. That blackout. As a kid, I used to. I'm very scared of dark at that time, and we are three sisters, and we three used to hug our mother like this because we fear that voice of aeroplanes, fighter jets when they do the strike, and the what you say, very terrible feeling when you heard that noise. Now aeroplanes are passing by, and you know that your father and the father of others also they are in the war. Uh, वो जिंदा आएंगे या नहीं आएंगे, we don't know they will come alive or not. And I remember after that war when my father came to home in holidays and he used to go back to join the duty. I used to glue to his legs. I won't let him go. I hang with the train ki I won't allow this train to start. मैं नहीं जाने दूंगी. I won't allow this train to start and take you away from us. आप नहीं जाओगे लड़ाई पे. I'm using little Hindi. So this is very horrible time.
Mm-hmm.
I pray for, we all are praying for both the countries. Only human lives suffer. Only human lives. And it impacts all the people in the world. Very bad. I don't understand. There are so many things. God has said ki I have given you love. You can solve all the problems with love only. You don't need any other thing, only love. But this politics, the countries, or this commercialization, all these things bring ego, jealous, greed in us, in human beings. And what happens in families, between countries, between friends, between families, everywhere.
When we talk about, you're talking about your experience with war. I don't know how old were you and how.
I was 5.
5. I don't know. Like it's probably like.
I was 5.
Yeah. So and when was it?
And
It was like.
Pardon?
How many years ago?
In 1971.
1971. Something about like 50 years ago.
Yeah.
And you talk about it. You talk about the experience, which is so vivid. It's just there. Your image, your story, your memories are so vivid, and you can see everything again. You start crying when you talk about it. And
When my father came back, means as we are growing, when we sit together as a family, we always discuss with him the what are your feelings, what all the soldiers were doing when you are in the trenches, when the fighting is going on, when bombardment is going on there. My father told that all we all are praying. We are in the trenches. We are hitting our enemy, but we all are praying. Somebody is seeing family's photographs, kissing their. Every soldier has the purse or anything means something which they carry means memories of their loved ones, their families. That they are looking at them. We are talking to each other that I'm missing my family. God save my family, save my country. So only human feelings are there at that time when war is going on. Nobody wants, no soldier wants. He trained for the war, but no a soldier wants
war.
कि कभी लड़ाई हो.
True. Well, thank you so much for joining. Thank you for sharing your experience, and
Thank you, thank you,
I really appreciate you. Thank you.
thank you. Take care.
Bye.
God bless you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
From time to time, sometimes we talk about trauma. I am a mess because I had a childhood trauma. My dad did it to me, or someone else did something, and I was suffering. I've been suffering years and years. Okay. But imagine this is the actual trauma after 50 years. Whenever someone says war and she starts to cry. And it's not just one soul, it's a generational trauma. When it happens, it's not just a soldier who is in front line crying, praying, kissing the picture of their loved ones, their families and their generations, the next generations and next generations. For what? What is actually is going to being achieved? What is the goal? There are soldiers who have had nothing else to do and just they joined the army. They had no idea that tomorrow they're going to war, and they start shooting at each other like two sides. Maybe if they meet each other in a bar, they probably buy some drink for each other. Yeah, let's drink together. But now they shoot at someone who they don't even know. Yeah, this is not, and it hasn't changed. That's the crazy thing, that like hundreds of years and human beings haven't found any better solution, anything else. All this like United Nation and talks and talks and talks and just talks. Yeah, so we put sanctions if you do this. Oh, I did this. Oh, we will put sanctions. Who cares about your sanctions? Have you ever found any better solution? Something I have no idea what, how, but you've been working on it for a while. Yeah, that is crazy. Oh, so let's see who else wants to join us today with, of course, a lot of stories of war. Everywhere around the world, they have tasted war somehow. Hello.
I need to turn my camera on. There I am. Can you hear me okay?
Hi. Are you driving?
Yeah, I'm taking my pup to the vet.
Okay. So maybe you can join later if it's okay. If it's
Yeah, I can do that. I just think it's really get on our knees, regardless of our faith, because if we have one Father and one Creator, He tells us that we don't battle flesh and blood. We battle principalities, the evil of this world, and the first place to start is to prevent it from rearing in our own hearts and minds. And I think people have to realize this is about power, period, in a sense. Power and greed that corrupts people. And so we should be praying for our leaders' hearts and minds and spirits to change.
Mhm.
And if they won't be changed, then we can pray that the Almighty takes them out of power.
Yeah. So if
We don't
there,
get to
there,
decide
there must
what
be a
happens to
reason.
them and
that-
how that happens.
yeah. The longer
And no weapon forged against us can prosper when we all stand together and believe. And it doesn't just affect, I can't imagine, I've never been, my dad was we have a long line of military family. My uncle became a preacher after he was saved in a foxhole in Germany, Nazi Germany. And I have nieces and nephews and children in the military, and it frightens the heck out of me, quite frankly. I'm like, why does one person's child have to go to war?
Mhm.
Because somebody else is being greedy and power monger, so I would love to join you later.
Yeah.
So that's all I wanted to say is I'll be praying for you guys as you're talking. I'll be praying for peace
Mhm.
and solutions and unity for all of us.
All right.
Thank
Well,
you.
yeah. Thank you for joining. Thank you for your share. I hope that you drive safe and let's all be hopeful. I don't know. Yeah. Thank you. Bye. Diapers and politicians must be changed from time to time for the exact same reason. Mark Twain said, I guess. Yeah. If they stay longer, they feel entitled. The illusion of control, the illusion of power, ego, more and more and more power. And greed. Trying to invite. Hello.
Hi,
Hi.
thank you for having me. I have chemo at 12:30. That's why I was hoping to join this topic. I don't, like you told me, I don't watch TV, but I know what's going on. As far as what the lady from India said, that is actually the war that I was born in. But I have two stories. One of my father was actually born before India and Pakistan was separated, the 1947 war. And I remember him telling me stories. Luckily, we lived on the side where we didn't have to travel. But he remembers trains coming in from India with just bodies filled with them, of dead bodies. Women, children, the same thing. It's not the solution. It's is not the solution to anything. It's egos getting involved. Like I always like India and Pakistan have had such a hostile relationship. Then they're they depending on their prime ministers, both the countries, then they get cordial, and then what was the necessity of even separating them? What was the need? What was the need of going through war and making Bangladesh? It's all about power and name when you really think about it.
Mm.
So I think that's what bothers me, because if you think about it, that whole region that was taken from originally British who ruled over us for years and years, we got rid of them, but then we tore our whole country into 3 countries when we could have stuck together and been one huge country. So that's what I have to say about the 1947 war and the 1971 war. Now, I've never been in a war zone, but I believe this was war for me, because this happened right in front of my eyes. I will never forget the day. I will never forget the time. And I will never forget the feeling is when 9/11 happened. When 9/11 happened, I was getting ready for work. The TV came on. The first plane had hit the first tower. Then, and I'm just looking, right? And then the second thing hits the tower. And before I'm down, the towers are down. Then the Pentagon gets hit. Then there's the one in Pennsylvania where the people in the airplane basically took the terrorists, and because they were going to go again after the White House. I will tell you, and it's so sad. I told my husband, I can guarantee you, these are extremist Islamic people who are the other end of Islam, who basically brainwash men into thinking, go on jihad, war, which is not what war means in Islam. You will go to Jannah. You will go to heaven. No, you won't. You don't go to heaven for killing innocent people. And that day when I went to work, I was a social worker at that time. We stopped everything. And it was a Tuesday. That's the funny thing, because that's when we had our clinical therapists used to come in, and we actually talked about it. And I kind of became like, everybody started questioning me because I was a Muslim. I'm like, hey, wait. You need to understand, this is not Islam. These people are hiding behind the name of Islam. Okay? Go read, go study, please. Don't be ignorant. Okay? Don't use me as an example. I will tell you what I was raised with. This is not what I was raised with. I would watch, and the problem with American TV here in America was they would continue to show those planes going in, to show those things coming in. And we would just sit here and cry and cry and cry. Finally, it took 1 week because people were so angry about seeing those buildings being fallen and pictures of firemen going in while people were coming out, And the media finally said, we've had so many people tell us, stop showing us those pictures. Mm-hmm. Stop reminding us, okay? We need to start rebuilding this country. And it's so weird how evil these people were that they used 911, which 911 in America is our emergency call number. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's how well planned out that was. And it sickens me because the person who was behind it was Saudi Arabia. He was from Saudi Arabia. Nobody touched Saudi Arabia.
Well, Rashda, today we're not talking about any countries or religion
Right.
or belief. We're talking about the war itself, which is
Right.
not the answer. As I said, there's been thousands of wars around the world in history, like in the name of religion, in the name of God, in the name of power, in the name of oil, in the name of money, in the name of drugs, in the name of
Right.
everything. It's not about a country. Like I do not believe in countries. You know what? Because it's just a line. If I was born in the other side of the line, I'm Iranian. If I was born from the other side, I am Iraqi. And now
Exactly.
my country was in the war for 8 years with Iraq, with
Right.
just a tiny line. And
Exactly.
I would be told that, so now this is enemy because you are on the other side of the border. That is
Absolutely.
crazy. If I was
It is.
born a Muslim, I will not fight a Christian because it's they give it to me when I was born.
Right.
Even if I like the smartest person in the whole history, Albert Einstein,
Right.
asked him. If someone asked him that, "Are you willing to die for your beliefs?" He said no because
Right.
they could be wrong.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
I believe like there must be like in old Greek mythologies or other like old thousands of years ago stories, when two cities where they had conflicts, they pick one hero, a warrior,
Right.
let them fight,
Yeah.
fair,
Yes.
just like okay, we just watch. The one who win, they win the battle. That's it.
Right.
Done.
Yeah.
No more killing. No more killing of children, women,
Yeah.
like innocent people. Like what is this? And after thousands of years, we still sending troops to another country, go with tanks in street and scare the hell out of people. And oh yeah, like sirens and
Yeah. It's scary because I have actually nieces and nephews who are going into the military, and I'm like, oh my god, it's the scariest thing in the world because if, like you said, if other people, if something starts, am I going to lose a family member? I've had family. My mom's uncle. She told me story. He was a prisoner of war for several years, and when he came back, she goes, he was a totally different person.
Yeah, that is true.
Because of the
And
trauma.
I'm so glad that you mentioned. I noticed that Dr. Norman is here. I'm going to say goodbye to you because I would love to talk to him as well. Thank you, Rashta.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
I'll talk to you later. Take
Yes,
care.
thank you.
Bye-bye.
You too. Dr. Norman, if you can join me today, we talk about war, and I know that you are well experienced about war trauma and all this PTSD and all the generational trauma that might be after even a short experience of war, like days. I don't know if you can join me here. That would be a privilege to talk to you as well. Mhm. Let's see if he can. Nope, I don't see. I don't know. Dr. Norman, you're not here anymore. I cannot see you. Anyway, so. Hello?
Hello, how are you?
Hi, thank you. How are you?
Not so bad, thank you. Wow, let's all just breathe a bit, I think. What a sad day. What a very sad day. Now, a little bit of history about me that I haven't been upfront about. I was actually a welfare officer within the armed forces. Now, obviously, I'm 57 years young. And, yeah. Seeing a little bit. In Britain, we lived through the terrorism from the IRA, and Obviously, that was supposedly for religion against religion. I've seen it firsthand, and it's not pretty. I've seen the casualties of war as well. They're not pretty. The casualty is not always the person who's lost a limb or who's in a body bag, because obviously their heart, that not being repatriated or whatever. The casualty can be the family. The casualty can be the soldier. Now, I've seen young men who have passed out as soldiers, and women as well, and they've gone into theatre. Now, theatre, for anybody who's a civilian, is basically the action of war, where you go into either peacekeep with the UN or you go in as action of war.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when these young lads go into theatre, you can see the nervous tension, you can see them loading into the vehicles, and all they've done, they've signed up for their country. Now, what I'd like to say, they are career soldiers, and it's a little bit different in England because we haven't got subscription or conscription. We haven't got the same as everybody else in other countries, i.e. a lot of the Arab countries and such like, Tunisia and such like. Obviously, people go in have to do their time within the armed forces. Now, what I'd like to say is, although we're talking about Ukraine, I've spoken to a friend of mine this morning who's a Ukrainian who lives in England, and at this moment in time is in London at a peacekeeping rally. They're actually down in London, Downing Street, and they're standing shoulder to shoulder praying. Now, some of those people will also be praying for the Russians, because everybody who goes into war doesn't get a choice, whether you're civilian or military. You do not get a choice. It is flight and fright mode, and you are looking out for yourself, your family, and everything. Now, particularly, as I said to you, I used to work as a welfare officer with the armed forces. Now, I come from a little bit of empathy within the armed forces, but also as a civilian, because my late husband did 22 years plus within the armed forces. Now, the first time he went to he'd been to Northern Ireland many times before I met him, but the first time he went to Northern Ireland, he said goodbye to me, he came back, he was not the same person. He was not the same person. I remember sitting at home, and a lot of women were being asked to gather in a community hall, and I just didn't go. I thought, well, I'm not going to go, I'm going to sit at home. And then I had a knock on my door, and there were two officers stood there with their hats on, and they said, have you not, well, you're not here, Julianne, why have you not gone to the community? I said, well, there's no need to go to the community, because whatever will be, will be. I cannot change it. I just have to pray to my God that everything is okay. And I was told there'd been a mortar attack. Thank goodness Ian was fine. Now, that was the Irish side of things. I went over to Northern Ireland, and I made the mistake of going somewhere I shouldn't have gone. And I had my daughter in the pushchair at the time, and I was pushing my daughter down the street, and I thought, there's an eerie sort of feeling. There's a feeling of, it was unnerving. I didn't even know where I was, to be honest, until I went round the corner, and I saw all these different pictures on the wall. And then I realised I was in the Falls Road. And the Falls Road was notorious for the IRA. One side you had the Catholics, the other side you had the Protestants. And they would literally use children to go across and find an alert when military personnel were going along the road. I've never backed out so quick in my life. My saving grace, my daughter's name, is Irish. So that was quite saving, because when I went onto a bus and it was March season and I started talking to my daughter, people were looking at me as I said, okay. And it sounds silly saying that, but the people on the bus were not the terrorists. The people on the bus were just normal people. But because they were Irish, they were classed as terrorists. Mm-hmm. I've lived with Muslims. I've lived with Jews. I've lived with many different cultures. And it's not the culture. It's not the religion. It is politicians. And what I'm trying to say here is we must remember that every person who puts a uniform on is doing so because they've been told to, not because they want to. Classic example, my uncle married a German after the war, after the Second World War, and brought her home. And bless her, she wouldn't tell anybody what she used to do within Germany or anything else. Turns out she'd actually had to work in the concentration camps. She felt so embarrassed she couldn't even look at anything on the television. And that, to me, looking back now, was a type of PTSD. It was a type of PTSD. The horrors of war, what she'd seen, what she had to endure. You know, the guilt and conscience, you're praying to your God for forgiveness because you don't want to be doing those things. Flipping back now, my great-grandfather was in the First World War and he was decorated. I never met him, but his story was, I was in the wrong place at the right time when I was decorated. And, you look at that and you think, my God, have we not learned anything? Have we not learned anything? I have seen chaps that have been out in Northern Ireland, have been out in Afghanistan. It is now, maybe 6, 7 years later, 10 years later, that they are starting to have PTSD. It was known as shell shock many years ago. Shell shock. Let's just stop and think about that. We think of shells coming towards us, we think of weapons coming towards us, but that is not the full casualty of war. The casualty of war is humanity in itself. Humanity is the casualty of war. Anybody who doesn't think that is living in a deluded existence. It doesn't matter how much bloodshed, it's not going to stop the war, unfortunately. It is sad. The particular regiment that I worked alongside in the Afghan war, we had the youngest casualties and we had the youngest deaths, and we had the most deaths of any regiment in the English military. Some of those lads were 18 years old. Some of them had been out there, they've just literally passed out. They were able to go out to theatre because they're now 18. I still talk to their parents. I still talk to their mothers. I was there when they were repatriated. And to be honest with you, there is nothing so empty as looking into the eyes of a mother whose son has been taken. There is nothing so empty as seeing a soldier who has carried his pal back from an explosion. The nearest I've ever got to an explosion was I was in a hotel having dinner in Canary Wharf, and this was in the late 80s. And next to the dining room was a gym. And I was sat there, and all of a sudden it was just like somebody had dropped a massive weight and a tremor. And then there was an eerie silence. And then we realised that Canary Wharf had actually been targeted. The aftermath is surreal. Time is suspended. It's like an animated situation. You hear things, you're in a fog, you don't know what you're doing, but all you know is it's flight or fright mode, and you have to get out there and you have to help. People look at it on a film or on a game or whatever, and to be honest with you, the games that are out there now, the Switch and things like that, they terrify me, because we are breeding youngsters to think that it's okay to shoot somebody, it's okay to take a weapon. No,
It's not. It is not.
It's so sad. It is so sad. So my point is this: although, as I say, I spoke to my friend this morning, and she contacted her relatives in Ukraine, and she could hear the shells and such like dropping. And apparently, the Russians have been told that this is to help the Ukrainians, to get certain Ukrainians out of certain parts of Ukraine to help them. We have to sit back and we have to think that we were not born to hate. Hate is a learned behavior.
Julianne, thank you so much. Thank you for your share. I just noticed that Dr. Norman left a comment. Maybe he will be able to join before we lose him again.
Yes.
Thank you so
certainly.
much. Thank you for your share. Appreciate
Take
it.
care. Blessings to everybody. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
All right. Yeah. So it is not okay to go on war and shoot someone else so you don't know and you have no problem with. And why? Because someone thinks that they do not have enough power. They need more power. They need more control. Or your God is against theirs and your beliefs is against theirs. Like how lame and how pathetic is that reasoning? Again, Dr. Norman, my dear friend, if you are here, I would love to talk to you about war and experiences about how we can deal with these traumas. If you can join me, I know it is not scheduled, but yeah, that would be great if you can just give us a couple of tips how to deal with this much anxiety and all these things that is happening around. Yeah, so it is not okay. And the question is, have we ever learned from the past or not? Okay. So apparently, my dear friend Dr. Norman cannot join me today. But if you guys have, let's say, firsthand experience about war, I do. I was born in war, I was raised in war, I have served in war, and it is nothing good out of it. There's nothing good comes out of it, like nothing. When there is a war, there are so much excitement happening. Media try to encourage you to be a patriot and go and serve your country and go there and do this. And there are politicians who speech, who shout out with, like fist, and they encourage you to go and kill or die for your country. And why don't you come with me, Mr. Politician? Why are you sitting in a palace and sent me? I was a baker yesterday and I had no intention to kill another baker who is on the other side of the border. But if you say that it is really important for us to kill that other bakers, just why don't you come with me? Let's fight for this country together. I'm sure if it was necessary to send politicians to wars, there would be no war at all. All this well-dressed, sophisticated politicians with red, blue ties and all the, like around the world, instead of putting on sanctions and just speech and talk. If you ask them to throw a punch, throw one punch, not even a gun, they won't. They would find a solution. They definitely would find a solution. Yeah. Hello. Hi, how are you?
I am good. I'm sad today. I'm really sad.
Oh,
and
we are.
I'm really agonized. I want to share something. I'm not going to say that I was inside the war, but I have seen a few things growing up in Pakistan. But, okay, first of all, I'll start with this idea that, it's just us as humans trying to own everything, trying to just say that this is mine, this is mine. This actually gets out of hand. And then we start grabbing power, and because of greed and lust for everything, it goes out of hand. And history shows us that when human beings start having power with the limited intelligence that they are born with, they start declaring themselves God. And we have declared ourselves God in the history. If you see that pharaohs did that, Caesars of Rome did that, and different parts of the world we did that. When the power gets out, when it gets too much, it gets out of hand.
Who are they? Where are they now?
Exactly.
The strongest, the most powerful leaders in history. Where are they now?
Exactly. They gone under the graves, or they burn in fire, just like everyone else in the world. And they are not anymore over here. They were just ordinary human beings like us. So the point is that it starts at home. As mothers, we are supposed to teach our children that, okay, no patriotism, it's globalism. It's the time of global love, global bringing everything together. It's not the time to teach our children patriotism, and it has to start with the mothers when children are sitting in their laps. Mm-hmm. I think it starts there. It does not start in school. It does not start out there. There is no such thing as patriotism. We live in this one globe, and then we are going to the Mars and going to the Jupiter and all of that. Take care of your home first. Mm-hmm. This is our home. We are throwing all the garbage inside our home. And the greed has gone out of control. So now I'm going to share a small incident. My father, I always mention my father on your program because, he had been a very big part of my life. He shaped my personality. I was born, those ladies were talking about 1971. I was born during that war. It was just 1 week war, and the fighter jets were going around, and I decided to come out. I just breathe in the world or something. My mom always say, you always bring trouble. So that was the trouble that I brought to the world. So but then, when I was growing up, in 1976, Russia, invaded Afghanistan. Mm-hmm. And I want to just clarify something, that I'm not going to name any countries. I'm not blaming anyone. I'm not blaming any religion or anything. We are all above and beyond all of this. We are human beings to begin with. Nothing matters after that. So my father he had a very, very soft heart, and he was like a man of some sort of substance, which I actually never got inspired by anyone else after he's left, unfortunately. So he used to go to these, those refugee camps. And then he would just, whatever he would have earned, he would take the biggest chunk of his savings, and then he would just purchase things for the children, and then the elderly and all of that. And he would sit down there and listen to their stories. It was amazing. He never used to take me when I was really, really small, but when I started growing up, like at the age of 15 and, and onwards, I used to insist that I want to go with you. So he took me there. So the incident that I'm going to share with you, I was at the age of 18. I was 18 years old. And then we traveled to the closest to the area between Afghanistan and Pakistan. There were about 3 million refugees, and there were camps there. I saw that firsthand, and that still sticks in my mind. It doesn't go away. The visuals do not go away. In the conditions that they live in. And once they had their land, or somebody only, the distorted mind thought that, okay, you know what? Let's just have what they have. That is it. Let's just have what they have. What are you freaking going to own? Because you're also not going to live here for a long time. You're here like a freaking guest. Don't try to own anything. God did not put price tag on oxygen. God did not put price tag on the water. God did not put price tag on the best of the things. And the best of the things that God has bestowed upon us, we cannot buy them. We say that sincerity you cannot buy, friendship you cannot buy, love you cannot buy. What are you putting the price tag for? It's a bad, what should I say, system that we have created. Is the worst system that has actually turning against us. This is our system. We are stupid human beings with limited intelligence that we are born with. Whatever we touch, whatever we look at, it actually burns. Okay, so the incident happened. So he would take me there. The same day, I know that my grandmother used to be from the same area, and she was a doctor back then. She used to, like, a lot of patients would come with different problems, and then so many comes from refugee camps, and she would just treat them and all of that. One day, you know, we were like coming out of our home, and then, you know, I was with my grandmother, and my father was also in my car, and we decided, okay, we'll stop. We would just get some bread or something, and we would go to the camp, and then we would distribute amongst the children or something like that. So our car came out of the house, and the hospital was in between the house and the refugee camp that we were going. Hospital was just situated right there. We came out, and all of a sudden we heard a loud explosion. So I was in the car, and I turned around, and I saw at the back of the car, all I saw was like a really, really dark sort of cloud coming from the same road, like a little bit distance. And I said, and I told my dad, something has happened, and then we felt the ground was shook. Guess what? It was my grandmother's hospital that was bombed. Her hospital was bombed because she was treating the refugees there for free. She opened the doors of her hospital. It was a private small hospital that she used to run. All those people would come, and it got bombed like that. And then when we were not allowed to go close to it because of they were saying that there was some radiation or whatnot. But when it was open, we went there and we saw there was nothing there. It was just a big hole in the ground. The thing is that people who actually lived and they seen, and I met children in those refugee camps when, you know, they would tell the story that their entire families were murdered in front of them. Like children, like 10-year-old child, entire family got murdered in front of them. We talk about our psyche. Oh, my teacher abused me. Oh, somebody slapped me, or somebody pinched me. So that's why I have a scar on my personality. Really? Really? There is a chunk of human beings nowadays. This is the worst time we are living in. Every part of this globe has refugees. Look how many people are dying, traveling from Syria to Greece. They're dying inside the sea. Then still Afghanistan. And Raksa was talking about 9/11. I was there in Pennsylvania. I was traveling back here when that happened. I remember that day. The point is that people who are responsible, they would never get caught. And we don't know who are the culprits. We can never be sure. I'm sorry. I don't believe that the people who have been projected, oh, they did it. Not sure. We will never know the truth. We are just like insects, and some other people are just running entire. But the point is that they're not also going to live. Why don't we start with our children? Teach them globalism and teach them that you're not going to live forever. Every day in the morning, remind yourself, we are here as guests. These things are given to us as a gift. And behave yourself, treat the things as a gift and blessing. Do not manipulate them. I think we need to teach our children this. I think we need to remind ourselves in the morning and before we go to bed that we are just here for a temporary reason, temporary time. We're not going to be here forever. We may not wake up in the morning. Tomorrow may never come. So it is mind-boggling to me. Seriously, like, can you believe that people who have ordered this war, now they're sitting in their, warm, heated, and, air conditioning places, and they're just wearing binoculars and just watching.
Yeah, they know they are. That is crazy how people who are actually killing each other's soldiers with one signature, they are sitting all around the table together, and they talk. So can you just
I request the mothers, when somebody is trying to sell you death and ask your child to be recruited in the army, they are salespeople. They are trying to sell you death. Do not buy death for your children. Please don't do that. Do something constructive. Ask your children never go to the army. I would just reach into the army camps and tell them, stop listening to your... That's why they hire people who just say yes. They do not hire people. It's a training. Mm-hmm. I also went through army training because back home it's mandatory. So I had to go through army training for 2 years. And then this is what they teach you. When the order comes, say yes, don't use your brain. You're asked to suicide, you commit suicide. You ask to kill somebody, no matter who it is, baby, child, just kill them. How brainless it is. So you're using somebody else's brain, giving them, like, letting them hijack your own brain. Stop your children from going to army. Do not get recruited. Okay, I think it starts with the mother. I think it should start from the lab
because
of the mother.
yeah, that's true, because the biggest loser of any war is motherhood.
Yes.
Doesn't matter which country, which religion, which region, what is the reason, and what is who won or not. Like mothers always lose.
Yes. Like, what more do we have to see? Look at Syria. Like, my heart breaks for Syria, and then time to time we see Palestine.
Okay, let's start from okay. Many places now in China, they I don't even know, like Myanmar, China, they kill each other in the name of God. And then like all these conflicts all around the world, in South Asia, in Middle East, Yemen, Syria, just mentioned. We had like the biggest war there in Bosnia, Congo, like in even in England. They were like, what is the point?
Yes.
And what was the achievement? What has been learned, and what's happening?
Alexander the Great, there is a saying that when Alexander the Great, who owned half of the world and he could claim, when he died, his hands were outside his coffin just to show the world that he's going empty-handed. This is the reality of human beings. You go under the earth and worms and snakes and tiny rats are eating your body. No matter how big of a velvets you're sleeping on, or you're living in like palaces and stuff, this is your reality. Why do we forget? The only problem with human beings that they forget their reality. That's all.
Thank you so much for to share. Thank you for your passion. I really appreciate it, and you're absolutely right. Thank you so much, Uzma.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Yes, so human beings are so into making things customized, I guess. They make groups, communities, and they have in-group interests and out-group conflicts, out-group enemies. This group could be religion, could be country, could be a football club, could be a school team, or whatever. We are good and they are not. We are together and they are our enemies. And then they will get to the point that they have the willing to kill for their inner group interests. There is no reason to justify killing. Not at all. Let's make it clear. One simple rule. No good reason can justify killing. Especially killing an innocent. In the name of anything. Anything at all. Hello?
Hi, everyone.
Hey, how are you?
Doing great. How are you?
Thank you so much. What do you want to share? Do you have any experience about war or anything you want to share, please?
Surprisingly, we didn't have an official war in Egypt, but I want to talk about the revolution that took place in 2011. It was an interesting, informal war that felt very much like war. And it was even more interesting because you were not fighting against another country. You were being shot by your own people. And documents can be manipulated. I was in the square. I flew. I was 18, and people didn't know it was going to turn into a revolution. And when I found out that it did, I decided to fly back ASAP because I said I have to be there. And I meet my childhood friend in the square, Basma, and she didn't tell me she was going, and I didn't tell her I was going either. But we were basically first aid, so we were trained by the Red Cross to save everyone, treat people. They had these tents, and then we would get people that got injured in the square, and people had to bring them to the tent. We were given instructions to not go into the fight, but it was actually a street fight.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a lot worse than war, because with a street fight, there are no rules and no limitations, and everything is allowed. And you don't know who's your friend and who's your enemy, because there were also thugs that the government hired to inject between people to break up the protesters. So it's like we were getting betrayed by our own people. We were getting shot by the police forces who are our own people. And we were fighting for people as well.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the protesters, that's one thing people don't know about the revolution. Most of the people who organized the protests were extremely affluent, rich people. So they came from well-off families, and they didn't need to start a revolution. Actually, they started it for the people who needed it.
Mm-hmm.
So when the people who needed the revolution actually found out that it spiked, they started going out in the streets, and numbers started increasing. So we found out when we were in the tent that people who got injured, who got sniped, were suffocating from the tear gas, because what they would do is they would tear people. They would tear people up, and then they would snipe.
Mm-hmm.
And then she told me, I remember my friend telling me, she said, I know they give us instructions to not exit the tents because we weren't supposed to get involved in the political part of it. But she said, we have to go get people because people are dying from the gas. They're suffocating from the gas, not from the bullets. And I said, okay, we're gonna do it, but we're gonna have to be quick. And we're gonna try to not have any friction with anyone. So I go in and I can't see anything, and she's in front of me, and I'm pulling people. I pulled 2 people, and then I saw her fall, and then I didn't know. I thought she fell from the gas, because she suffocated or something. So I'm going there to pull her, thinking that I'm gonna take her back to the tent. I'm gonna put some vinegar in her mouth and nose, and she's gonna wake up. So when I pull her back to the tent, I actually I find blood. She had got sniped too, and died on the spot. And that moment, nothing can buy or sell that moment. When you lose a human being, it's not just about her. It's about everyone who gets killed. The crazy part, after the day, I told these people who fought for the people, and the court, they burned down all the documents that ever proved that the police forces sniped people. They sent thugs and buried all the documents. So the court didn't have any evidence to rule based on. So the police officers who sniped people did not serve a day in jail. Not only that, they also kept their jobs, and most of them got raises for protecting the government because they were the hand of the government. The people that we were fighting
night before, we went back to the square because we said this is not done. We had lost our friends. We didn't get a ruling from the court. So our only rescue was to actually change the government. This is what we were out for in the first place. When we went out to the streets, people started cussing us out, and they started beating us up. The same people that we had went out to fight for. We weren't only fighting for them. Let me clarify this. We were also fighting for ourselves. Because this is our country as well. It's not only theirs. But this is what this is showing you is that the reason why the world is in so much chaos, it's not because of the few evil people who actually do evil. It's because of the millions of good people who are too scared to fight for the truth. And you say, I'm not a fighter, I'm a lover. I heard this on Instagram and it made so much sense. You cannot say I'm a lover, I'm not a fighter. If you're a lover, then you have to fight for love. Because if you're not fighting for love, guess what? Someone on the other side is fighting for hate. And they're gonna win. Or even worse, they're gonna use you as their tool. So the message I want to get out to people today is, I agree with Ozma, yes, teach your kids to not join militaries, but also teach your kids to be strong and to stand their ground and to stand up to bullies, abusers, governments, unfair institutions. Teach them to stand up to them because that's our only way out. There's a lot more good people in this world than there is bad, but because the bad have so much power, they're ruling all of us and they're basically killing the rest of the world. And thank you guys, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to trigger anyone. This was triggering for me. I'm literally shaking talking about this, but I hope this helped. Thank you, Iman.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for your share. Thank you for joining me today. Bye. So this is the normal that I remember 2 years ago, more than 2 years ago when we talk about normal. This forgetful human being was so in rush to go back to what they left. War, greed, power. Here we go again. Even in anything that divides us in name of country, borders, religion, even inner groups, they have different in-group divisions, as Rana just mentioned one. In that conflict in Egypt, they were all Egyptians, but now we have good Egyptians and bad Egyptians, and pro-governments and anti-governments, and pro now, like this is it. If you look at things the way that pro-vaccine, anti-vaccine, pro-mandate, anti-mandate, pro-Ukraine, anti-Ukraine, pro-this, anti-this, and that would be that would be the reason, that would be the outcome here. There is no good reason for war, not at all. Again, in the name of nothing, killing can be justified. Yeah, I think we can have one more guest. I hope that we can have some other shares. Let's see. Let's go to TikTok to see if we can.
Hello?
Hello?
Hello, Dr. Ayman.
Hi.
How are you?
Thank you so much. How are you?
Thank you for accepting me as a guest.
Of course. Would you please introduce yourself first?
Okay, I'm Layla. I'm from Libya, and also
I have a bad experiment of a war.
Mm-hmm.
It was a civil war, and it was horrible experiment. But I'm not gonna be taking too much time from you. I'm just like, it was a civil war. Okay, we're Libya. We're in North Africa, and we are rich.
I know Libya was probably one of the let's say the long-lasting civil wars in
Yeah, it takes too
Arab
much.
Spring.
Yeah, it takes too much. Like, it's civil war, you know. It's like East and West, like they fight it together.
Mhm.
Two leaders, like militias, and not illegal. But it's like they support them by, I don't know, it's like foreigner force. I don't want to talk about that, but now it's like, as your guest from Pakistan, she like, now they are friends. The enemies being friends, and a lot of their soldier that they fight, they die. It's like, it's horrible and civil, and we are like civilians from East or from West. A lot of families died. A lot of families lose their moms and their kids, and lose their hands and their part of the body. Sorry for telling that, but that's happened. And our experience, it was like we end up like being refugees from our house to other country, but still in Libya. But it's bad, terrible. Like, you leave everything, you're behind stuff and thing in your house, and you go out, and you know. But like most of the family, we get out of it. But the most thing so painful is my sister. She still go to psychologist.
Mm-hmm.
She has that bad. She can't live now a normal life. She can't sleep. Just if she has medicine, and the war, it's end, but she still have that issues, you know, from she still taking medicine, and it's like, it's very painful to see your sister like sharing experience, and they are now friends, you know, the enemies being friends. That's really horrible things happening, but we don't know. We still like being afraid, like once you sleep and you don't expect that the war will end, will start again. Like, you sleep in like 4 a.m. and you're ready for tomorrow to go to your college or to work or to study or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then the war starts in your street, like suddenly. You can't say anything, like it's the power, you can't say anything, you know, because you are civilians. You don't have even a power to talk or to share or to say anything. Just if you like, if refugee out of Libya, like if you go to Europe or whatever, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I want to share. That's because like my sister's still painful from this experience, and I saw her like she lost most of. She went to like through a deep depression and anxiety, and the psychologist they couldn't help her even to get out of this. You know, she wasn't strong enough to, because she like, you've been like in your room and you couldn't to go to street, like you don't know if you're gonna live after 1 second or 2 seconds, you know, if you're gonna be live or you're gonna be die. You don't know, like
True.
You don't know you're gonna be still with living people or with these people. Like, it's horrible, you know. She still think of that, and she couldn't pass. She couldn't get over it. Okay,
And that's what they call PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yeah.
When you've been through
Yeah.
all this stuff, the trauma is as strong as you can experience it every single minute. The event is not there anymore, but you feel the pain, you feel the panic, you feel the adrenaline rush and everything completely
exactly.
vivid. It's still happening there. You've been shot every day. You've been exposed to explosion every day. Even there's no actual war anymore.
Exactly, and the sound of the bomb is really like if you still hear that, like you couldn't go over it. You know, it's really terrible. So when I see like Ukrainian civilians, we feel them, you know, like you don't want this feeling to happen to any
Anyone.
race in the country, to any race, like to any anyone, like any human being, you don't want them to share what you share. You really pray for them to be safe, and that's it. You don't care about the politician or who win or who what is. Just you only care about the civilians and to be safe.
True. Yeah. Thank you, Layla. Thank you for your share. I'm so sorry to hear that you've been through this, and I hope that your sister feels better soon. Yeah, thank you so much. Bye. Well, again, we need to learn that there is no glory in war. No glory. In war, there is no glory. It's all pain, death, like this, done. No blood can wash out blood. Doesn't matter which side win. When blood is shed, mothers always lose. Let's pray for everyone. Let's pray for peace from East Asia to South America, all around the world. Let's pray that we learn our lesson. And our politicians, of course, learn their lessons. If they cannot learn the lesson, let's pray that they will be replaced soon, because these are innocent people who are paying for some handful arrogant people who do not want to learn, who do not want to humble themselves. And of course, let's pray for this recent conflict. Both sides, I mean, Russia, Ukraine, again, like all around the world. Yemen, Syria, still in Afghanistan, like all around the world, there are people suffering from handful people, arrogant. And yeah, so let's all take a couple of minutes to pray, and then we can end this session. I was trying to find maybe a song that hopefully can